Hey, folks. Welcome to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Michael Hrostoski. Hrostoski.
What's good? What's up, brother? Good to see you.
Good to have you here, man. Um, yeah, and today's episode is a little bit different for me. You and I have a weekly call scheduled.
hmm
Where we gather every week, and today I said, "Hey, let's do a podcast." There's a bunch of stuff coming through me, and you said, "Well, hey, maybe I could hold some space for you and be a doula to support you, uh, sharing what's coming through you." So it's kind of like being a guest on my own podcast, although I'd really like to also be able to be in relationship and connect in the ways that we do, which I so thoroughly enjoy. So yeah, welcome, Michael. It's good to have you here. Thanks for being open and available for this.
Sam. Shall we jump right in, or is there anything that you need to before I pull out my midwifery skills?
I'm ready. I'm contracting and breathing and screaming and I'm ready to birth a baby. Let's go. Let's get it.
Cool. Well, I'm here with you. How does that feel in your body?
My the body, the concrete body, the in this moment I'm particularly present to quite a blissful, almost orgasmic sensation moving through the body and yeah, just breathing and breathing, nurturing this feeling.
Isn't it so interesting? Because I hit those states at times. Isn't it interesting how like vulnerable that is sometimes just to be in like orgasmic bliss?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm grateful I'm here with you on a Zoom call in an apartment with closed doors and stuff. It's I feel safe safe in this energy and yeah, it's vulnerable. I mean, here I am on a recording on a podcast I'm going to share. So, hey everyone, welcome to Forest in Orgasmic Bliss State. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm primarily with you, but I'm also with you, the listener who's listening to us right now, thinking about you and thinking about how we can best create art that brings you into the fullness of who you are so that like so that Forrest and I don't waste a moment of your attention on anything that is inessential.
Mm,
And as I feel that within myself, it's a simultaneous like piercing,
mm,
like a like I'm like a walking sword,
mm,
just piercing through anything that's like inessential, which is a much more masculine quality and something that I really love in you, brother. When we hang out, it's like there's a real piercing quality of our consciousness that we can like rest in and really like feel and sense in each other, and just that just feels so good to be in connection with you. And then there's also this like just deep like, yeah, it's like a doula midwife. Oh, and it feels vulnerable to share this with you, like there's just part of me that like cares for you, Forrest, so much, because it's just a natural extension of my care for humanity. And it's like it's like very like feminine and like womb like, very mother like. And sometimes my mind gets kind of tripped up, and my mind goes, who the fuck am I? Like what am I? This is weird. This is really weird. What the fuck is this? I have no
mm,
I have no external like archetypes or representations of the way that I feel inside.
Mm.
When I like look at stories, I don't feel the totality of who I am captured in like scientific studies or research studies or literature.
Mm.
What's going on here? What the fuck?
I notice I feel free and like, oh, I can relax hearing you. Like there's a um like I feel squeezed, like I feel hugged really tight and yeah, like just all of me is kind of doing this like, yeah. Yeah.
That feeling. So for if you're watching us on YouTube, Forrest and I are putting our hands in the air. I love when my body does that just by itself. Like sometimes with certain coaching clients, I'll watch them like I'll watch them birth themselves into this whole new incarnation of themselves through courage and their commitment to feeling. And my arms will just go.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I watch someone rebirth themselves into who they're meant to be, like that's my World Cup moment when that's when I'm like screaming and ripping my shirt off and like that's my athletics and my art.
Yeah. Speaking of athletics and art, I've had an experience over the past few days that I'm just like itching to tell you about. Can I? Can
Please, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is super in our wheelhouse, so I want to share with you. Um, Last night I did a flash mob in Amsterdam in the middle of a Dom Central. It's a like a square here, and there were over 100 of us or over 120 of us doing Cuban salsa together in the middle of the square in a rueda in a circle. Do you know this? Have you done Cuban salsa? Is this familiar to you?
I've been to Amsterdam. I ate too much cannabis infused products and almost died when I walked in front of a train. And I haven't done Cuban salsa, and that's my experience with what you've shared.
Okay, okay. So I went to a birthday party this weekend and I got invited to be a part of this flash mob.
Mhm.
And the woman who invited me said, "Come to this essentials class on Monday night," which was or today's Thursday, 3 nights ago. Flash mob was last night. So Monday night, flash mob's Wednesday night. Monday night, 2 nights prior is the first time I ever do Cuban salsa in my life.
Nice, nice, nice.
And
Love it.
yeah, and I get there and she goes, okay, I guess maybe in her mind she had an idea that I've done Cuban salsa before. She goes, show me your basic salsa steps. And I'm pretty sure I started doing bachata with her, and she looked at me with this kind of crazy look of, uh, uh-oh, this isn't, it was a real moment of, she was like, well, we might have to send you home, and this class is to prepare everyone, and there's levels in their studio, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. I think it goes up to 5, and every dancer in there was at least level 2 up. So there's people who've been dancing for years, and the way it works is there's someone who's a leader who calls out a move for you to do. So they'll
Mhm.
say, dame, and you hand off your partner you're dancing with, and you take the partner to your right, or whatever it is. And there was at least 50, probably 100 moves that I just get into class and they start calling out these moves. And I had one of the most blissful experiences of my entire life, because it's like, okay, I get to just open up my body, open up my being, and download this entire modality from space in real time in a way that I get it. And I felt so challenged, so invigorated, and I got it, man. Like I got all these calls, all these dance moves in real time being in this group in the class right away. Then stayed for the advanced class that night and just kept dancing. And and like my body, my face and my body have been smiling in ways I didn't know I could smile, like through my pelvis, through my chest, like my jaw has sat in a smile that I didn't know I had like access to. And I've just this feeling of like I have been craving this level of challenge of like just being thrown in the deep end in total chaos and all that's happening, and the intelligence in my body completely taking over and intuiting and sensing into the energy in the field and downloading through nonverbal cues, uh what dance moves are being invited. And then the night before the flash mob, I met with the instructor again and walked through all whole spreadsheet of moves that we could do. And I just felt so seen. She's going, I've been teaching dance for 10 years. I've never seen anybody in my life get this quickly. Like I've never seen this. And I just really have been letting this impact me of like, hearing you have a lot of talent, that you've got a real calling here in dancing Cuban salsa. This is something you ought to spend more time in. And then of course going to the flash mob and being in front of all of Amsterdam and dancing a couple of songs of Cuban salsa. It has been the most blissful, just like breaking open experience that I've had in a very, very, very long time. And I've let myself enjoy it at a depth that I've never allowed myself to access so consistently and persistently. So
What's it like to smile from your pelvis?
Ah, it feels so good. I mean, it's like energy that sometimes I can have energy like stuck in my hips, in my hip
Mhm.
flexor, my pelvis, and my
Yes.
belly.
So common for men too, right? Like I don't think I've told you this. Like I'm a certified yoga instructor. I used to teach yoga. Um, I'm really into like Ido Portal movement culture type stuff. I used to break dance. I teach dance now. I teach Brazilian Zouk. It's just fun. Like for me, um, I've been training in partner dance for a year, and I still have tightness in my hips
Mm,
that as I explore it, it's the as I explore the tightness in my hips, it's the direct manifestation of the like fear of the feminine consciousness in which I was incarnated into being born in 1981. And just like
mm,
I like to ask people how old they are,
mm,
only to like tune into what they incarnated into.
mm,
So for me, like I'm timeless. We're all timeless, immortal beings, like on this like infinite playground, having fun. I have friends, and I have friends who are college students who I was just hanging out with one of them just now. Like she goes to Drake, and she's a dope artist, and then I have friends in their 70s. Like for me, age is like I never think about age
mm,
except just to ask someone like, oh, like when were you born? Because then I kind of understand like when and where were you born,
mm,
because then I understand like what was the what were the agreement fields and like the
mm.
societal and cultural distortions that you incarnated into
Yeah.
as part of your genetic inheritance to bring the light of consciousness and like that universal love to, in order to bring love to these ways of being that are rooted in separation theology and separation consciousness, the idea that we're separate, whether it's by gender or race or sexual orientation or by class or job or political party, and bring love to that, and then evolve those thought forms into a more like elegantly ordered, more like beautiful manifestation of thought, and then live that out
Mhm.
in a iterative cycle of thinking better,
Mm, mm,
by feeling, thinking better by feeling all that is, and bringing love to it, and having your heart continually broken by life. But as you're broken open, more of you comes through the vessel, and then your reward for that is those like bliss states where your fucking pelvis is smiling,
yeah. Yeah.
and and your face hurts because the depth of smile is taking your smile up into these like higher registers of of like facial muscles. Do you ever have that with certain friends where you're laughing and smiling so hard you're like, ooh, I'm upper limiting on my smile. I didn't know my smile could get way up there. And do
Yeah,
you
man, I
ever
when I hang out with you.
yeah,
For sure.
it's 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 as if we're just like filling up with more joy.
Yeah.
And as we do that, then the parts of us that had a kind of hard time here on earth can dissolve and relax in that. And it's just this like perpetual cycle of love conquering all. So I took us on a little LSD journey, but let's go back to your hips.
Yeah. So you're 81, so I'm 91. So we got 10 years apart in birthdays. And I'm like I'm 10,000% with you on. I mean, I know you and I have this passion for movement and um
Oh, wildly passionate, and I believe we're going to touch some new territory today together. Like I just have this hunch that we're going to touch something that we couldn't come to on our own,
yeah.
but because we're playing together, and we're creating together in time, like we're creating art together. So because we're creating art together in this conversational jazz, we're gonna get somewhere that
Yeah.
we haven't been before, and that we couldn't get just on our own.
Let's
So,
do it.
and there's a vulnerability in that of like I need you to get to the highest places, and like you need me to get to the highest places. And I like there's a sweetness in that of like we really do need each other. There is this like interdependence where we do need the reflections of others to bring forth the highest art.
Mm.
And that idea of the lone genius or the solitary inventor, when thoroughly researched, that idea is easily debunked, that any genius had a team of geniuses around him or her supporting those innovations and breakthroughs. Yeah. Oftentimes unseen, and oftentimes women.
Mm. It's what I'm loving about hearing you is we're getting into this. I oftentimes talk about being a professional athlete in consciousness or a professional athlete in life. It's like, I mean, I'm 32
Yeah.
years old and I'm in the best shape of my life by far. I mean, I feel
Mm.
the best I ever have. I feel the strongest, most adaptive, reflexive, parasympathetic, like just heart open, gut open, awareness open, lots of vivaciousness, vitality. And I have more support structures put in place in life right now than I've ever had before. I mean, I'm astounded at the depth of care that I receive on a daily basis from this support network that I've built out for myself and that has emerged, to support Forest. And at the same time, how much more is needed to support, as you said, the highest manifestation of the art that wants to come through right now. It's I put up a Facebook post the other day that got quite a bit of attention where I posted and said, I feel like I'm, needing to ask for support in forms of support I've never asked for. I feel like I'm trying to flex muscles, in my consciousness that I've never clicked
Mm.
on before. I'm searching for light switches I've never touched. Like there's just this newness and this sense of my being reaching out into the field and going, you know, how, like, what can I do? What's available for me? And when we get into the we manifestation, like you were talking about how we're interconnected and we can create art together here in this moment. It's like, okay, so how do I get with Michael, or in this moment, or in another person? How do we get together and collectively together come online in a way where we illuminate in the most radiant, uh and radiant, vivacious, like palpably emanating the transmission of the clear light that we are, as like just beautifully and openly and powerfully out into the universe as possible. Like, I just literally just put my hand on my heart and I'm like, this is lighting me up right now, and I mean that on a lot of different levels. So um yeah, how's that to hear?
It's really lovely, and I'm curious how your heart feels as you bring the mouse pointer of your consciousness, as you bring your awareness into your heart and just dive into your heart. What's happening there as your desire to share this light with others is heard by me and heard by the listener.
I really appreciate you naming listeners. I just yeah, so the heart, as I'm bringing my awareness to my heart and into my heart, I really get this, if my hand is going to mimic my heart, like there's just an opening happening from the inside out in the heart, and it has a, contraction and expansion. It's breathing itself open. And um yeah, I can feel how my heart is, it's like opening and looking out into the universe, out into the world, out into the field, out into consciousness, and going like, um hi. And like, there's a looking from the heart out into the world for friends, for friendship and connection, and like love um and play. Who My heart's like, who wants to be in a relationship with me?
As your heart is opening and scanning reality around it, I feel really called to share that in the past week, I was on Zoom with one of my closest female friends, who's just incredible woman, super high integrity, living in her body, like so connected to her senses. Really, really amazing woman. And we got into a place of such deep rest together that I started to feel myself like consuming myself.
Mm.
It was like I was enjoying my essence, like this kind of like pulsing, like I'm seeing like a mango or like a tulip, or just really like juicy plants and fruits. And that's how it felt inside myself. And I said to my friend, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like enjoying myself in a palpable
Mm,
undeniable,
mm,
energetic way that
mm,
I never have before.
mm,
And I am enjoying my beingness just so like unabashedly right now.
mm,
And this is something really special.
mm.
I've never been here before, but I am enjoying my beingness. And it just and it was like a pulsing, like I was just like consuming myself, but it wasn't, it didn't have any of the like distortions around consumption that some of the like energetic, like vampire, hungry ghost, like zombie energy does
Mm.
when some people are disconnected from source and disconnected from their hearts and disconnected from their souls and just consuming everything around them. And
Yeah, yeah.
and 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 nothing wrong with that. It's just a stage of growing up. I was there.
Hmm.
I think most children and adults go through that stage at some point because in the descent we get lessons that we couldn't get just being a illuminated, enlightened, perfect being.
It's I really feel connected to you as you're sharing. It's a very common experience for me these days to just be resting in being, or resting in here and now, and in awareness, um and kind of, and just, in being in relationship with the universe, and in relationship with totality, in relationship with um consciousness itself. There will be some self structure, some form of consciousness that comes into awareness, and it's like, what used to be parts work and shadow work and um la 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 la, like all the things in terms of working through supporting a part to get what it wants and all these things. It's like, somehow these forms of consciousness have discovered, like, oh, if we just open up to God, if we just open up to consciousness itself, and let the timeless come into us, if we let source come into us, like there's just this like umbilical cord that comes, it's never not there, but there can also be like, an experience of a reattachment or a reconnection to source, and like the most nutrient dense nourishment that could ever be coming through this channel, through this cord, into whatever form of consciousness, whatever part, whatever self structure is opening up and available for it. And then it's like all kinds of things can happen. You just start letting the light in, and there's a fullness experience of rehydrating, becoming juicier, plumper, more full, more robust, like colors getting more colorful, taste getting more tasty, smells getting smellier. Like there's just this sensorial, rich, juicy, oh gosh, it's so good experience. And there's also, on the emptiness side, the dissolution of the rigidity and the holding patterns and the um, stiffness and the achiness and the posturing, and just this total releasing and letting go into the larger whole. And I'm experiencing this every day, multiple times a day. Like it's an all day, everyday experience, really, to just see these different forms come into awareness and go, hey, I want in on this too. It's almost like become a culture of sorts. Like, I want in on this game also, and let me just open up and let the light in. And it's well, I'll just pause there. That's what's happening for me hearing you.
It's nice being there with you right now. It's it's really lovely to be here with you right now.
Mm.
It's really lovely to co-create energetic architecture for the listener right now. It's really lovely to prototype, rare and novel ways of being as a man with you right now.
I was struck when you said as a man. I want to ask you where that came from, or there's something there. There feels like something. Let's double click on that as a man.
As a man alive in the year 2023, where there are many people and like idea complexes and narratives that are demonizing men, attacking them, um, shaming them literally out of existence, where some men and boys feel so much pain to be a man that they're ending their lives and committing suicide, where we're being a fully embodied man living from soul consciousness is its own never-ending full-time job that requires so much discipline and awareness and discernment and needs that don't make sense to the mind sometimes, or don't make sense to the personality. And I'll share one thing personally. I ran out of role models in 2014, and it was I was like I was raging against life because I ran out of role models in 2014. And I remember in a private Facebook group of friends who are all teachers in spirituality or tantra or masculine, feminine dynamics, or coaches, I remember sharing something like I'm out of role models. I was a 33-year-old man, just someone lead me. Like, can someone show me how to do this? Just grasp me. Can someone fucking show me how to do this? I see no one. There's no one here. There's no one that inspires me fully, like fully, all the way, head to toe, every sliver of existence being something that would authentically activate a part of me wanting to like learn from that person, or apprentice from them. And I met all these wealthy people who were miserable. I met all these people who had great relationships who were struggling financially. I met super healthy people who didn't grow their mind and weren't as much of a cognitive athlete as I am. I met just genius people in tech and in the Silicon Valley space who were completely disembodied, just heads on sticks. Just wow, like how, like, are you even here?
Yeah.
And the part of me that wants someone to tell him what to do slowly, like, has been slowly dying since then. But then as that part slowly dies, then what grows in its space is me taking directions from my own highly calibrated inner authority. and running myriads of micro experiments with life itself. And in those micro experiments, being as present as possible, being in my body as much as possible, being as connected to my heart and my emotions and the sensations that move through me as I observe my mind and my thoughts, as I observe the real-time impact of my words, of my energy, of my thoughts, of my actions on the greater ecosystem of life around me. Then from that place is where I sit right now, a place of never ending iteration of becoming better, but being held from that place of beingness, in which I know I am this exquisite drop of God, so much that I tasted my own essence last week. And as I hold those simultaneously, knowing that this is a never-ending journey of growth, and as I hold that simultaneously with how perfect I am, and the feeling of like tasting my essence and being in that yummy becomingness. And I take a deeper breath into myself, and then I wait for the next moment that arises for me to respond to. And the more patient that I am, and the more that I drop into my trust of life itself, the more I am rewarded with extremely rare states of being, extremely rare conversations, extremely rare insights, extremely rare friendships. And then as that feedback loop of receiving these, it's like nectar. As I receive this nectar from life, then that gives me the real-time evidence of this is a good path. I closed my eyes for probably about 2 minutes to share that, and then when I opened my eyes, I saw you moving your body, and I allow my body to move itself all the time. And I think that's one of my like secrets. When I think of what makes me unique in my adaptations of my evolution, I will just let my body, I call it authentic impulse. That's what I've named it. And I'll allow my body just to start to move itself. And I'm doing it now for anyone who's watching on YouTube. And it feels so good. It's like the best way that I can describe it is I am listening to the organic, most nourishing, therapeutic movement patterns that want to move through me, and I'm calibrating to those, and then I'm letting go of any control of my body, and then I'm letting my body do that. And they're often circular, they're often circular and spiral and unwinding. And oftentimes, like, I'm stretching right now, but the stretch didn't, so I'm in a twist for anyone who's watching on YouTube. This twist didn't originate from my mind. I didn't go, oh, I need to do a twist. Twists are good. My body is twisting itself. And I've noticed as I've let go of control of my body, both in this authentic impulse practice and on the dance floor, then that's where the most nourishment, and in a partner dance context, that's where the fucking magic is.
Yes.
When I when I when I let go of all my training and I listen, I primarily lead, but I both lead and follow because I love to just cross train everything. Um, but primarily I'm leading and I'm listening to her body, and I'm listening to how her body most desires to move in the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening so deeply to how her soul wants to move to this music. Oh God, I've never said that out loud. That's it's so beautiful.
Amen, bro.
Fuck, fuck, fuck.
Dude, this is
And
like, oh, all right, go. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. And I'm listening to how her soul wants to move to
Yeah.
this music in this space,
Yeah.
in this time. And then I become a servant to that desire.
Mm,
It
mm,
like almost brings me to tears to say out loud. And then I serve that desire, and I become the frame and the architecture
yeah.
for that movement. And it has been a trip for me to dance with women and then afterwards see them with so much gratitude in their eyes, and them authentically saying thank you so much. That's a trip because like it just happened so fast. I've only been training for a year in this dance, and I it actually brings up a lot for me. It brings up a lot for me of I've had this weird experience in life of I've had this experience in life of feeling it's not fair that I have so many gifts.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It sounds like you haven't thought about that one, but for some reason,
It's a very interesting arrangement of words. It's not.
I know, I know, I know, and I think I mean, and that's it's the let me explore that real quick. It's just
I feel I'm practically overflowing in relationship to what you just shared. Can I
oh
reciprocate?
please, yeah,
I'm
way
no,
better than
like,
my
man,
limiting identity. Go for it, dude.
you're literally touching the core of my being right now in what you're sharing. I mean, in partner dance for sure, in sex and lovemaking, in literally walking through reality in relationship with totality, like not just a female bodied human, which yes, and how like I mean yes, and let's talk about that. And also with the whole, like there's just like a what is it that wants to be freed in this moment kind of orientation to a to experience, to reality, to a body, and like connecting to that primordial life force energy, that aliveness, and sensing into it and listening to it deeply, inside myself and also in other beings and uh forms and awareness, and just sitting there with like a, a patient, curious orientation of like, okay, if we just cultivate this aliveness, if we just deepen into this feeling and we let it take on its own orientation, its own life, its own way of unfolding into the world, with us, through us, as us, this kind of thing, like there is this like it makes me want to cry. I mean, I so appreciate you saying you feel like you want to cry, because it's like it's the most beautiful thing to get to witness and to uh be a part of and partake in, is like watching freedom and aliveness flesh out through a being, and like and and bloom into its most beautiful realized expression, whether that's, you know, we can just stick with the example of partner dance, but it's like I feel like after most interactions I have with people, I myself, and you and I are doing this together in real time right now. It's like I myself, and I imagine you, and we together as a we, and then of course zooming out even more as part of the larger unified whole, have come online more fully, have access and embodied more of our innate aliveness, fleshed out and unfolded and realized, you know, wholeness in a more whole way. And like, man, it's like I'm so here for it. That's the words that come to me. Like, I'm so here for this game. It's the most fun game I've ever played in my entire life. And um I just feel I feel like I'm really glad we're talking about this right now. Like a little kid on Christmas morning. And I feel seen by you in a way. Like when I mean, this is a very common experience for me when you and I hang out. um I feel so seen. And you know, I told you my father passed away in 2015, and I went through this masculinity crisis where I looked into the world, and I reached out to so many men and sat down and had conversations with so many men looking for role models and inspiration and guides and elders who could support me as I had just turned my father passed away 4 days after I turned 24 years old. I mean, I feel like I was really stepping into the threshold of being a man, um and you know, being a young man and being on my own in the world for the first time, and my primary male mentor or role model died, and had been sick with cancer for 5 years before that. So I was in a real uh crisis, looking for something to live into, and going out into the world and going like, what feels like is in me that wants to be born into the world, I'm not seeing mirrored back to me by another person.
Indeed.
So like, uh-oh, you know, this might get really challenging here in a moment. And like I feel a really deep connection with you in that struggle, and where it's brought us in this moment, in this conversation we're having.
Yeah, when I've been in those places, it's like a gnashing of teeth and banging my head against the wall and pouting and throwing a tantrum and just feeling so furious that there isn't something that I can orient my consciousness to externally that inspires me.
Mm,
There's a lot that I can orient my consciousness to externally that
mm,
that evokes compassion from me, and that evokes care. But it's and what I'm sharing isn't an absolute. So I'm inspired often, um, but it's very rare that I meet. It's very rare that I meet a man and my whole body just says, "Yes, I want to be like that." Which which makes sense in these times of great change and transition, and in a world where the global tech stack and generative AI and just the gender and racial and political environment, and just even us like understanding money and blockchain, and just like it kind of makes sense that
yeah.
we're human soup a little bit right now. Like I get it. I I get it that we are interconnected in ways that we
Mm.
haven't been before, where we now have the ability to connect to any human on the planet
Mm.
via the internet. So the amount of knowledge and wisdom transfer is just, we're we're here like just stewing in exponential growth curves everywhere around us, and we're only aware of like the tiniest grain of sand on the beach is what we're consciously aware of what's happening right now. No matter how smart or wealthy or connected we are, we still have no fucking idea of what life is. No clue, just no clue.
I just did a quick time check, and I know I have a hard stop in about 10 minutes, and I want to click on this um phrase "as a man" that you said earlier. Um and I want to shed some light together, maybe on our own conditioning, maybe on the roles that we're carrying, or like whatever. But I want to play with this, if it has an energy for you, like this sentence stem of "as a man," and see, like, if there's any conditioning, but also just what we're inspired into in this construct of a man. I mean, here we are, this timeless being, and our unique expression of God is in a male body in this moment. um so
And I would love to play with you in that, almost like an authentic relating circling type prompt. Is that like as a man?
yeah, as a
And
man.
I would love to be there with you with the energy of freshness, and
Uh-huh.
the energy of new, and the energy of like fully being present with the now, right now, and nothing that we've ever learned or read or studied or experienced about masculinity or being a man.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to go first, or?
Yeah, so just so everyone's aware, everyone, all our listeners and everything, I'm gonna open up into sharing what comes up for me in this sentence stem without even knowing what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna let the words be spoken through me. So we'll see. Feels quite edgy and slightly uncomfortable, and I'm just like noticing sensations in the body as I let the words come. So
And I am in that place as well. You're watching us essentially do naked parkour for the first time.
good job. As a I noticed I almost looked off into story, so I'm going to stay in eye contact with you. Um,
Nice.
as a man, I want to have a family of my own.
As a man, I steward culture itself into higher expressions of care and empathy.
As a man, I create safety for people in my presence.
As a man, I feel my breath breathing me and surrender to it fully.
As a man, I embody strength, integrity, sincerity, and honesty.
As a man, I allow myself to feel my emotions fully, because upon completion, my strongest and most noble and most intelligent embodiment lies after the completion of that act.
Hmm. As a man, I stay open in this moment and every moment for guidance and inspiration and direction and right action from God.
As a man, I feel nature in my heart and taste it on my tongue.
As a man, I laugh, and as a man, I roar.
As a man, I fight for what is true and good and beautiful and protect what is sacred through the most non-violent, omnipositive actions that win even the most villainous hearts over into a better way of being and living and playing and experiencing life.
As a man, I give everything I have, and I desire to be asked, can we have more?
As a man, I celebrate the expansion of my brothers,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that we're all on the same team,
Mm.
architecting better ways of being for our children and our grandchildren and future generations beyond us.
As a man, I love my brothers more than I can put into words.
As a man, I allow myself to be broken open by love itself.
As a man, I hurt. So my alarm just went off. I've got a hard stop in 2 minutes, and I really like that the alarm went off on as a man I hurt. I feel like that could be, if this podcast episode is titled As a Man, then we could definitely have a deeper dive into the hurt in another moment.
So I know when we first got on Zoom today, and we were in the green room before this podcast interview, we said that we will name the title together after the interview. So I love to put our copywriting hats on. Something that I love. I love As a Man, I hurt. I think that's a great hook.
Okay.
And I love that people have to listen to the whole thing to get to it.
Great. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm in. Fair enough. Fair
And
enough.
I love that people will basically go on a journey to meet us here to hear that.
So the
And
show title.
they'll go into a podcast episode with the idea probably of us talking about our pain, but instead we're talking about orgasmic bliss
Yeah.
and tasting our own beingness.
You don't get the hurt until the last line.
and even then it's a little pinprick that's held in the goodness of life itself.
Yeah. And it's a pinprick that's opening up to an umbilical cord to allow in light and nourishment and truth and beauty from God, from source itself.
And as a man, I hurt as well. I hurt deeply. I am in pain daily. Yeah, I am in pain. I am in pain daily because of how deeply I feel.
Well, what a privilege and an honor it is to open into the bliss and the ecstasy and the joy and the pleasure and the fun and the pain and the struggle and the camaraderie of being a man and being a being here with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for traversing these ideas and feelings and expressions of consciousness with me.